We are recording. So, Atma Namaste, everyone. Atma Namaste, Christian Arlong, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Monday cloudy afternoon here in Denver, Colorado. And we have a beautiful guest on today for the Mahatma Atma Project, which is spreading the message of great souls doing great work, with Brandi Smith-Young, who is the owner of Perfect 10 Physical Therapy. And her and I had our first connection about last week, and Brandi and I share some similarities. We both have the same spiritual teacher. We both have the same healing modality that we integrate into our lives, and spiritual practice that we integrate into our lives, known as pranic healing and or Hatha yoga. And she really rocked my world when I was asking her, do you do any distance stuff with your physical therapy practice? And here I am thinking, there's no way ever that a physical therapist could actually do their work through Skype or across the radio waves. And surprise, surprise, you can do it that way. So I want to give the floor to Brandi a little bit, kind of say her background. She's been doing physical therapy for about 10 years, and she's been doing pranic healing for about a year at this point, from October of 2016. And her story is really fascinating at how she's been able to integrate the two. Primarily in her physical therapy practice, she works with athletes and even more specifically female gymnasts to help them perform at the best level possible structurally, while at the same time integrating meditation and energy healing into her practice. So I'll kind of give you the floor, Brandi, say whatever you want to say, and then we'll just ad lib from there.
Thanks, Christian, for the great introduction. So I have been a physical therapist for actually 12 years, and I, again, have only been doing pranic healing for about a year. I do specialize in gymnasts. I see gymnasts, cheerleaders, dancers, figure skating athletes. And I started out just seeing them one-on-one in person. And gradually, as I traveled across the country doing lectures and other things, I had this huge need for people distant. And so we figured out how to do it on Skype and or FaceTime, and it's been amazing. We've been able to reach lots and lots of people all across the country, and they're getting benefits that they otherwise wouldn't get. And I actually think that the FaceTime Skype experience is super unique because the parents get really involved, the coaches get really involved. I use them as my hands and eyes. I use the video, but I guide them through everything. So there's a lot of education that occurs during those sessions so that they can continue. So there's a lot of follow-up, a lot more involvement, which is good. And everybody becomes really invested, which is really, really great. So we've seen amazing results on FaceTime and Skype. I've got entire temes that I at the USA or the NCAA national team.
Yeah, Brandi, you're getting more excited. I love it. Yeah, you're like, yeah, all right, let me share this. This is great.
Like the NCAA national championships, I think it was a year ago, maybe two. I had treated like an entire team, and only about 4 of them had traveled to me once or twice. And so the whole entire team went because it wasn't far from them, and I got to meet the whole team in person. And so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's really cool to get to affect people from afar and offer them something they can't really get anywhere else because of my specialty and my experience and all the tools I have in my bag. So it's been pretty awesome. Yeah.
I love it. Now, if you had the choice of being on the road 365 days or being in your place 365 days, do you have a preference of how you want to work with people?
Everything in moderation. I don't think I'd want to be in either one place.
Good answer.
I know that's like kind of not answering, but really, I don't think I'd want to be in any one place like all the time. That can get a little mundane. So It's nice. I like traveling. I do workshops across the country. So matter of fact, I've got one beginning in November and another one. I'll be somewhere else in Texas near Dallas in the beginning of November, and then I'll be in Michigan in December. And so I like the traveling. I also like traveling because it's one thing to see someone in your own environment and like your environment being somewhat controlled, and then going into their environment in their gym or in their dance studio. It's a completely different energy. It's a completely different world. Like, and they have to be able to take what they get in my clinic area to that world. And the energy of that can really be challenging at times. Really noisy gym. There can be a lot of stress in the gym. There can be a lot of pressures in the gym. They come in my place. My place is a really safe place. Like, it's a place to let go. They can communicate about anything and everything. They know that this is a good place to let go, like, and be who they are. In the gym, that can be more challenging, you know? So I actually like going to their place, because ultimately that's what they have to figure out. And they have to, the hard part of about being male or female gymnast, because I work with both, and it is a different world. It's really interesting seeing, because boys will just chunk anything. They like just go for anything. They don't care. And I've had boys, I work medical staff at several meets and stuff. And I had this meet and I was watching this kid and I was like, oh my God. And it looked really freaky in the air. It was really not that great. His entire team is up jumping and screaming and going, yeah. And I was like, and then one of the teammates come over to me and goes, that's the first time he's ever done that. And I was like, in competition? Like, that blew my mind, because like, girls are not that way. Girls are like very adamant. They've done, like, they train this level and they compete this level. Like, they don't, and it has to be consistent, and there's just, it's very different. So it's been interesting to see those worlds, which also comes with different energies in their gyms. And so it's really interesting. But the biggest challenge is they have to take, no matter what facility they're in, because they have to go from their home gym, which they get used to that energy, and then they have to go to another facility. Like, they have to go to a competition facility, a competition setup, and they get all of 3 hours or 2 hours maybe in the facility to get acclimated to. You know, when they go to nationals and other stuff, they get a few training sessions in that gym, and sometimes it's not the same gym, but the energy, like getting their body shifted and getting used to it and figuring out how to contain their own system, like in that system, and not letting the whole world, the whole environment affect their energy system and their thoughts and their being. That's really challenging. And that's something over the last year, actually last 2.5 years, pre-chronic healing, that I was already working on. I've written a bunch of articles on like the nervous system and something called amygdala hijack, and how it's basically letting your thoughts go out of control and they take over, and your emotions drive your ability. And that is not something you want at a high level performance athlete, because then you get someone who hits all the time and then they just blank out. And so it's a great challenge, and it's a great mix, because you're already hearing it, that like chronic healing is super intertwined in the process of getting an athlete to, one, perform to their optimal level, and two, be healthy, because it's those moments of not being present and not being aware that they get injured.
And you have a beautiful, how to say it, a beautiful background in gymnastics as well. So you're not just a physical therapist who trains gymnasts, but you've actually been a gymnast yourself for a number of years that competed at a very high level, right?
Yeah, so I competed all the way through college, and so I started when I was 3, and I retired when I was 23. And I did everything in gymnastics except for judge. So I coached from like the age of 14 or 16, was impromptu coaching. Well, 16 I was paid. And then from that point on, I coached up to like level 10 gymnast, which is right below like elite level, Olympic level gymnast. So I truly have done everything in the gymnastics world except for judging, which is I'm okay with. So,
well, you don't want to hold the little, it's hard to hold the little sign that says 9 or 9.5, or, I mean, what? Well, that's challenging?
That's the easy part. It's the, taking the harassment from everyone, and then also having to be consistent with your eye, and like, yeah, it's very detailed to be a judge. I work with a lot of judges, and one of my daughter's adopted grandmothers who helps us on traveling occasionally for USA Gymnastics trips. She's a regional coordinator. She actually judged me when I was like 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so we've known each other for a really long time. And I talk to her all the time about like the judging rule changes, and just sitting with her at meets. Yeah, I don't envy them. I don't. It's a tough job. It's very detailed.
And you were making the comment about how mindset and emotional mastery is just as important at the competitive level as having your form correct, as having your nutrition correct, as having your sleep correct. So if you could share a little bit about one of the clients that you had who, while he was physically fit and physically capable of doing everything that they need to for his competition, he was having some personal issues that were kind of distracting him. And how did you help him through that process so he could compete at a higher level?
Well, so this athlete in particular, teenage boy, and so teenage boys have teenage boy issues, which means there's girls. and this, interaction with this girl was really affecting him, and it was affecting actually his emotions and his nervous system. I like to look at, we're all made of energy in this whole world of kind of chronic healing and how energy looks, but I also like to look at the fact that the nervous, sorry about that.
It's okay.
The fact that the nervous system is just a pathway or a highway for the energy. Like, the nervous system is our electrical system of our body. And so, you get all these hormones that are triggered and it affects all the nervous system down the body. And so what makes a muscle fire is a nerve. And if you look at it on the energy side of it, ultimately energy is making a muscle fire. And if you have, say, a circus tent that runs down the middle and you have pull lines on each end, if I have an 800-pound guy pulling on this side and a 100-pound guy pulling on this side, who's going to win?
The 800-pound guy. So, that's a big guy, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, not a trick question. Yeah, 800-pound guy. And so what happens to our pole? Does it stay upright or does it end up leaning towards the 800-pound guy?
Leaning.
And so if you have a pole that's leaning towards the 800-pound guy, then you're tumbling around on that, right? Like, our body's meant to be, so at a joint level, if you have a joint that's like so, you have 800-pound guy on this one and 100 on this one, and now this is this way, and you're tumbling around like this, or you're trying to move, the puzzle doesn't fit together. And so you get limited range of motion, you get limited strength and translation of forces. So that being said, when you get triggered, emotion, either whether it be a girl, this guy instead, or what brought me to this whole theory in the first place about 3 years ago, was I noticed this trend of athletes who were either consistently sick or they consistently came in with the same limitations every time on both sides. So and it was happening during season, and as season progressed, it got worse and worse. And I'm like, we have this fixed, this is done, and now all of a sudden your ankle range is limited, and it's the same degree every time. And we'll get it fixed, and then you come back, and then it's the same. Or I had one athlete who was sick an entire season, and they thought, oh, it's allergies. And then in the end, they tested her allergies. She's not allergic to anything. Season was done. She got super sick the end of season, 1 week after season. And then all of a sudden she was healthy with no allergies. And so what's the common denominator? This whole entire system is full of nerves, energy, right? And so I'm going to use those intertwinable because that's the correlation. And basically, if her sympathetic nervous system or her thought forms of, I have to be perfect, I don't want to fail anyone, I don't want to fail my parents, fail my coaches, or disappoint anyone, I want to please everyone, or the internal criticisms of, I'm not good enough, I'm not healthy enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not flexible enough, you name it, enough, right? Then it triggers that nervous system, the energy gets triggered and stuck, and now all of a sudden the highways get flooded, and muscles that were maybe imbalanced before are even more imbalanced. Or muscles that, if you have someone who coach contracts, who uses like both sides of the muscles, say hamstring on a quad, especially like soccer players are great at that, but gymnasts are too. They'll just over contract, and then they get like just compression at the joint. And so then there's no room for movement. So now you have an athlete who's used to moving a certain way. You turn on this system, the energy gets all mumbo jumbo, typically by thought forms and emotions or stress. And in the end, you get limited ranges of motion, limited abilities to contract muscles that used to contract. So now if you had someone who released the bar and their arms were way back here, now when everything's tight and bound down, they're releasing here, they're missing catches on things that they used to catch all the time.
Did you guys catch that? Did you catch her form, how beautiful and amazing it was? Did you see that? You see how powerful that range of motion was? Just to make sure everyone caught that. All right, go on, Brandi.
You're hilarious. Yeah, so that being said, so this whole, like, I kept seeing these patterns, and so I started doing a lot of research in the somatosensory world and in amygdala hijacked and neurochemicals, the fight, flight, or freeze responses. And basically, if you think about it, the turn-on valve for the whole floodgate system is in your head, and it's all neurochemical related. So what triggers those neurochemicals? Trauma, previous experiences, emotions. And so then I found pranic healing. And it was like this, it just, happens that way, right, Christian?
It sure does. Sure does. And to add to what you're saying, Brandi, for our viewers or listeners or whatever format you guys are absorbing this information from, the Ajna chakra, or energy center in between the eyebrows, deals with the endocrine system. So it deals with hormones, because Brandi was mentioning hormones before. So if you're a teenager, your hormones are going up and going down and going up and going down, and they're affecting your emotions constantly. So by keeping the Ajna chakra cleansed and energized and balanced, it helps balance out the hormones and balance out your emotions. And then she also mentioned the nervous system. So if your nervous system as a high-level athlete gets hijacked right before a competition, your ability to perform at that elite level is going to be compromised. And so the forehead chakra deals with the nervous system. So those two chakras or energy centers need to be treated. And from our perspective that we're talking about is through pranic healing, through cleaning, strengthening and balancing the ajna, cleaning, strengthening and balancing the forehead chakra. The athlete and the ordinary person will be able to compete and perform at optimal levels.
My ultimate goal is just for them to stay themselves. Like, just stay yourself. Like, don't be affected. In the gymnastics performance world, they call them mental monkeys, right? Get the monkeys out of your head, or thought forms. You could just say that, right? But, I've been dealing with mental monkeys I've been doing my business since 2008. So I don't know, what is that, 10 years or something. But yeah, so I've been dealing with the mental monkeys specifically. Well, I've been dealing with them since I was 7 when I started competing,
That's a good name for a band, Mental Monkeys.
Mental monkeys, yeah. Yeah, all they need is like a pranic healer lead singer. Oh, wait, no, if they do that, the music will stop.
Oh, no encore for them. Okay.
Sorry, only Christian and I may have gotten that. I don't know. I have a 2016
That's fine. We're excluding everyone else from our inside jokes. That's okay. You guys will eventually get it at some point. Take pranic
It's okay. If you're in the USA gymnastics world, they're used to me laughing at my own jokes. So that
What's the best gymnast joke out there? I've never heard of a gymnast joke. So
the best gymnast joke. I don't know. You put me on the spot. I don't know. I have to think about that. We have to do a follow-up.
Let me know. So where do you see in the world of gymnastics and other athletes that you work with, are they more open and receptive to alternative therapies for stress reduction, for emotional healing, mental healing, mindset training? Where do you see kind of this going?
Well, so I'm really fortunate that I have colleagues like Doc Allison Arnold. She's a sports psychologist for USA Gymnastics. We've worked together for a long time. So she has done lots of work over the last more than 20 years in getting people more aware of mindfulness and more aware of being in the moment and present. And slowly, it's how do we do this? Slowly, the culture of gymnastics is becoming more open to change, open to realization that we have some sports science to back up all of what we're saying. And so they're slowly, like in the last couple of years, I've seen when I'm lecturing across the country, people very involved and very, they're starting to answer questions the way that science answers them when I ask them. And so they're starting to be open to the research and open to things that are changing. Allison has done a ton of work on mindfulness, awareness, and being in the present and in the zone. This is what we talk about, and getting rid of the mental monkeys. And so there are various fields that have been started working in that. I find that as far as my clients go, I have some of them that would like to just stick to their traditional physical therapy, movement, function, sport-specific training. We do all of that. What they don't understand, though, is that in order to get, like, there's a ton of research for central stability system, and it involves a lot of breath work.
No kidding.
And so, yes. And so in order to get the pelvic floor and the diaphragm system and the entire central stability system working together for foundational stability, because you have to have that central stability system stable before you can add any distal movements, arms movement, leg movements, whatever it may be. And so everyone who comes to me gets that no matter what, because the central stability system gets affected by the actual old school way of training gymnastics. We're changing that, and that is going to change. And the idea of overtraining this position of hollow that everyone tries to do, it doesn't even help them performance-wise. It's just kind of an old thought form that's around. It's changing. And so as that changes, so will the central stability system. But until then, everyone who comes to me gets it, because it affects every injury from TMJ all the way down to wrist and ankle. And so the cool thing is they all get breath work anyways, which starts the energy flow system, right? And we talk about moving water or sand or energy throughout our movements anyway. So they get some form of breath work and energy system work with me, but there are a handful of clients who are finding more and more and more. They ask me questions, and or we get to a point where I say, hey, you know, I really have this other modality, chronic healing, that I think would be really helpful with your injury. Are you open to trying it? And they are. And ultimately, especially I end up, because especially so Skyping, when I'm doing Skyping, if someone's finding me across the country, there's two reasons why. One, they've seen everybody and their brother and their mother and their dog, and they're not better. Or two, they had a coach who watched me lecture somewhere and was just blown away. And they decided to do coach and athlete, so that the coach, the cool thing I like about this, I see this one coach and this one athlete. This coach now gets to take that to all 20, 40, 50 of their athletes they have in the gym. And so it starts to develop change in their culture and in their environment. So that being said, those two avenues, how they get to me, and either one of those ways is a really great way to go. But I also have this other tool, and since they've already tried everything, and their brother and their mother and their dog, they're like, yeah, I'll try anything. Just tell me what to do. You know?
Which is key, because that means the person's receptive.
Yes.
And receptivity is very, very important in the healing process, because if the person comes in and says, you know what, I'm not really interested in this, I'm not open, I don't care, I don't believe this, then the success of them receiving the healing, receiving the treatment is going to be less than if they just go, you know what, I have tried everything, it hasn't worked, but I'm still open and receptive to receiving whatever it is that you have to offer. And then typically those people receive tremendous benefits. So receptivity is super important.
Well, and what I like about that, so what I really like is that when I hear you talk, or chronic healing, is that I have this other world in the medical world where there's research that shows that if someone is just willing or open, even a placebo would work, right? Like that's how powerful our mind is. And like we would have someone come in, I remember learning this like in PT school, they're like, if someone comes in and you don't give them anything, they're not going to get better. Like you have to physically give them something, right? And so it goes back to that research that if someone is vested in something, receptive, they're going to get better, and the benefits are going to be 10-fold to 100 times fold, like by far. And with chronic healing, 100 times fold easily. That's been my experience just in the last year or so.
I love it. I love it. So to cover real quick, because we're wrapping up, everybody, so you can put your you can put your pens down. Brandi was mentioning mindfulness, and to clarify something which I think is fascinating, that Master Ko, one of the senior instructors for the World of Chronic Healing out of Chino, California, he created a video talking about what mindfulness actually is, because we assume that mindfulness is connected to the mind, but mindfulness is actually connected to the heart, because without awareness, we don't know how our thoughts and our feelings are affecting ourselves and are affecting each other and affecting the environment. And awareness requires sensitivity, and sensitivity doesn't come from the mind. Sensitivity comes from the heart. So the practice of mindfulness is actually the practice of being aware of the heart and activating the heart. which is beautiful, because as we expand as a people throughout the world, and we become more loving, more compassionate, more tender, more sweet, and more aware, we can start to realize, if I can feel the pain of my fellow human, maybe I don't want to say that. Maybe I don't want to do that, because it's causing them injury, which is also causing me injury. So mindfulness, again, is actually connected to the heart, not connected to the mind. So, Brandi, if people want to reach out to you for a physical therapy Skype session, or if they want to reach out to you in a physical format in Austin, Texas, how, and by the way, guys, I'll have all of her contact information in the YouTube video below in the description, but if you're watching, how do people get a hold of you?
So the best way to get a hold of me is email or cell phone. So perfect, the number 10, PT, as in physical therapist, at gmail.com. Or you can call me or text me at 512-426-6593. That's the easiest way.
Isn't she amazing, everyone? Look at the bright, shiny face in the perfect form. I wish I could like demonstrate that as well, but I haven't been doing it for 20 years, unfortunately. Started off with ballet when I was 17. That didn't work out too well, and then I went into modern dance, which worked out much, much better because it's more free-flowing and more creative. So not so structured, not so rigid. Yeah,
my choice when I go play around and do dance, that's my choice now, is more modern.
Yeah, I love it. So guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for logging in. If you got value out of this interview, please share it with your network on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you typically hang out on the World Wide Web. And I'm trying to think. I don't know. Brandi is just awesome. So if you need healing, reach out to Brandi. If you're an athlete, reach out to Brandi. If you're somebody who's curious about energy healing, meditation, practical spirituality, reach out to me. I've just been doing it a little bit longer, so maybe throw a little bit more on there. And you can find me over at christianarlong.com. It's my name, super easy. I'm on the first 3 pages of Google. I'm trying to take over Google. And that's it, guys. So lots of light, love, and power from myself and from Brandi. So this has been another episode of the Mahatma Project. It's spreading the message of great souls doing great work. So from Denver and Austin, this is us. Atma Namaste. Bye-bye.